Now, to take this further, we are being joined by Fleur Hassan Naum from Jerusalem. She is the outgoing Deputy Mayor for Jerusalem and the current Israeli Special Envoy for the Foreign Ministry. Welcome to the broadcast, Ms. Naum. What do you think, rather who do you think is the deal breaker, Benjamin Netanyahu or Hamas?
Hamas has always been the deal breaker. Right since the beginning, Hamas uses its own people as well as our hostages as a defense strategy. There's been already 3-4 deals on the table that Hamas has rejected. And the reason why they've rejected it is because they seem to have achieved their aims without having to negotiate a deal. Israel was supposed to go into Rafah a month and a half ago, and so much pressure was put on Israel not to do that they achieved what they wanted, almost a temporary ceasefire without having to give anything up. And now they want to do the same. They want the world to pressurize Israel not to do a ground invasion, and they don't have to do anything in return and not return our innocent hostages, amongst them a 1-year-old baby and 80-year-old elderly hostages. And so at the moment, they use the pressure on Israel as one of their defense strategies. And this is why Israel has to go in to Rafah, because in Rafah, the 5 last battalions of genocidal terrorists, that's where they are.
Ms. Naum, you mentioned that Hamas has been able to achieve a sort of a ceasefire in Rafah. I would like to clarify, the ground offensive has not happened, but we keep hearing strikes that are continuing by the Israelis in Rafah. But speaking of that, Israel has proposed a quote-unquote period of sustained calm in this new proposal. What does that mean in the face of its imminent operation in Rafah?
It means a temporary ceasefire, which is what we did back in November, December, when we had the first hostage deal. It was a temporary ceasefire. And this is exactly what's been offered. Again, it's offered people to go back to their homes. Who is blocking people from going back to their homes? It's Hamas right now. It's Hamas who's putting their own people in harm's way for their own political gain, which has been their game plan all along, unfortunately.
You ask who has stopped these Gazans to go back to their homes. I would want to lay out some of the facts here. Almost 2 million people, most of the population that's of Gaza, are reported to have fled their homes. Those who remain in the north, which is where you're talking about, are on the brink of famine. Those who remain, UN says that 80% of the people need immediate humanitarian aid. Hospitals, houses, educational institutions, all have been leveled. So when you ask who have stopped them, what do they go back to?
Well, unfortunately, because the terrorists, as their strategy, hide themselves within the civilian population, it's very difficult to go back. But let's not forget that it's Israel who put these people out of harm's way and not Hamas. Hamas hid in the tunnels like cowards, 700 kilometers worth of tunnels, leaving their people up there. And in terms of famine, you know, we've been on the brink of famine already for a month and a half, no famine. There's food being sold, aid being sold in the open market. Cigarettes are priced 200% higher than a cigarette anywhere else. Who's making the money from all of this humanitarian aid? Who is actually preventing the distribution of the humanitarian aid? We have a new port that's been set up. Israel has opened yet another crossing. We have 35,000 tons of aid going in for the last few months. Who is blocking the people from getting the aid they need? Look, ultimately, we have to understand that the common denominator of the misery of the people of Gaza is the Hamas genocidal terrorist regime. They got their people into this by doing the worst massacre in Jewish history since the Holocaust on the 7th of October.
Why did they start? About the people of Gaza and not Hamas.
I've been talking about the people of Gaza. I've been talking about the people of Gaza.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.